Welcome to the presentation of AcuContainer, an AccuBoost product published by Information Integration Group. My name is Alec Bagdasarian, and I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to show you these enhancements. We published very many enhancements for Acumatica. You see a list of few of them. So what AcuContainer does, it gives you the ability to load items that are in a container coming your way into a container transaction. You can load a complete PO, partial lines of a PO line or a line, PO line completely. In addition, you can also load items from sales order containers. So if you have an intermediate warehouse overseas that you receive the products in maybe Dubai, then from there you can create new containers and send the products your way to US, LA. We allow you to allocate invoices, landed cost invoices to items in the container. You could receive the inventory in transit warehouse. So if you have FOB is foreign dock and you want to show that you have ownership of the product, you could see that in the warehouse. We auto calculate duty and tariff for the items based on custom classification codes defined. We integrate with vessel finder and sea rates, and we'll show you where that container is and what the ETF for it is. Once you define what's coming your way in a container, you can start allocating those to sales orders that are in the system. We'll also show you from Acumatica's inventory allocation screen what containers are coming your way. You also have integration with the IIG's QC enhancement if you want to do some QC on received product. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over a few PowerPoint pages, and after that I'll start showing you the program. This is the preferences. This is where you set up some of the settings. So all the things I've talked about, posting to in-transit warehouse, auto calculating duty, integration with sea rates or vessel finder, these are all optional settings. So you set them up in the preferences. This is the field added to the stock item in Acumatica, the custom classification code. And when you click on it, it will show you the available ones. And this is the screen where you set up the tariffs and duty by custom classification. This is the screen where you set up your container. You load items from POs or complete PO lines. These are some items that we've loaded in this container, PO container 138. Notice that we have some information in the header. Some totals will display for you at all times. What's the total duty? What is the total tariff? Allocated amount, if you've allocated any landed cost expenses, the status of it, the vessel finder number, the freight forwarder for it. And here at the bottom right, I'm showing you if you're integrating with sales order transfers, which again is an optional setting, so you can create transfer sales orders and load the items into PO containers. It will still allocate your landed cost to them, and at the point of receiving, we'll create PO receipt for the products that were on POs and sales order transfers for products that are on sales orders. This is the screen where you allocate inventory that is coming your way to sales order. So you select the sales order. When you click on allocate, it will allocate. You even have the ability to unallocate inventory if you want to allocate it to a different order. The dates, you enter different dates, the factory pickup, the expected departure, actual departure. So you could create generic inquiries and view what's in transit, what's ready to be picked up, and use Acumatica's functionality, business events, and emails to send notifications. Of course, when you create a PO container, all of activities tracking is part of it. You can enter notes, you can attach your different documents to it, your custom clearing documents, commercial invoice. You can allocate all of those. This is where you enter the landed costs, you enter the expenses, get allocated to all the items in the container. This is where we'll show you where that container is on the water. Print the container. This is the program that allows you to post to in-transit warehouse. And what's posted into in-transit warehouse is completely reversed up when you receive it in your main warehouse. You will create an Acumatica IN transactions, and we'll show you that information in there. If you receive the warehouse, when you receive the warehouse when you receive the container in the warehouse, you can enter the quantities, and from here we'll load the quantities into the container transaction. So if you want folks in the warehouse to only have access to entering quantities and nothing else, you can just give them access to this program. They'll enter what we received by PO, by item as they open the container. If you receive an expense that applies to multiple containers, you can enter it in here. You enter the list of containers that an invoice, landed cost invoice applies to, and you enter the invoice here. Of course, we will create the invoices for any landed cost entries when you receive the PO. Purchase receipt transaction that gets generated in the landed cost. So this is where our activities come to an end. So AcuContainer fills that gap in most ERP systems from between the point where you approve the PO until you receive it in the warehouse. And this is where you receive the warehouse and we hand everything back to Acumatica. This is that optional QC screen. This is where in the inventory allocation, you see the containers that are coming your way. And of course, sales order containers, this is where you generate those. You're just sending products from one warehouse to the other and you want to print a bill of lading with what's in that container, you could use this functionality. So I'm going to start the actual demonstration in the PO container. So as I've said, you can create views, see what's in transit, what's in terminal, what's arriving next week. You click on a plus sign, you'll be adding a new container in the transaction. You can enter a vendor number. If you enter a vendor number, then basically when you're showing you the POs, you will filter that for you. Container number, it's used by tools like C-Rates integration to show you the container. The container status, you define the container status is in the planning stage. The origin, what country it's coming from, that's used for duty calculation. The freight forwarder, who is the freight forwarder. Whole bunch of information here which are used. Information for information, you could create your generic inquiries, you can create your emails and all of that. And we do things like if you click on the freight forwarder, links will take you to their website and load the container number as a tracking number for you in that entry. So basically some header information as we talked about. This is where you enter the information for the vessel finder number. So if I enter 636, I'll be able to look at that vessel and see where it is. Fall season container. So then what you do, you load your items. You can load certain items from the purchase orders. So if you can load it, you can load a complete PO, or you can load certain lines of a PO here. It gives you that ability to do that. I could just select those and load those items into the container. We will track for you what's quantity on PO, what's in this container, what's in other container, what's in transit. So you'll have access to that information. So it loads the items in the container. The landed cost tab will show you the custom duty and tariff allocated. So if I take you to the stock item screen, you'll see the custom classification code here. And that the fact that we let you enter the percentage of duty and tariff by country, and we use that to calculate your duty and tariff for you. So if you have additional landed cost invoices, you can enter here as many invoices as you want, freight, merchandise processing fees. And on our roadmap, we have the ability to generate the POs. Right now, we generate the POs when you receive it, but we're changing that so you can receive it at any time. So you can do that. Dates, a whole bunch of dates you can enter. So you could basically enter when the expected departure for the container is, expected arrival. And you can come back and, of course, update these things. For example, maybe left on the 22nd and it received on the November 10th. Of course, you know, the customs number. Again, all of these are dates that you could use to basically create generic inquiries, create emails, letting people know what's the status of it. You can remove it off of hold. You can save it. And as I mentioned, you can enter notes here. You can attach your commercial invoice. You can enter activities. If you're communicating with your brokers or the vendors, it's all emails. You can add email, you can add activity. All we will track that for you so you have visibility over what's going on with that container. So once you do this, then the next thing you would do, perhaps at some point, come back, make changes, switch it from planning that it's overseas transportation, change some of these dates. If it's actually left on the different dates, you could do that. As I mentioned, you can come to the vessel finder and see the vessel on the ocean where it is. Of course, some of this information is no chart. Some of this information, like getting the actual ETA and updating the inventory, those are like few cents charged for you to do that. At some point, you will receive this container into an in-transit warehouse, so we can go ahead and do that. And basically, what we do, we allow you to set up vendors. A vendor could be from a country or from the country to a destination port, and you could receive that inventory. So you start seeing it on your financials. You can generate your different Acumatica reports and see what's coming your way. Once you're set, you just need to select the container, and you basically would go and receive what's in that container into an in-transit warehouse for you as you click on register. Again, we would put this inventory into an in-transit warehouse, create the IN transaction, receipt transaction in Acumatica, and we will reverse this for you when you receive it in your main warehouse. Of course, the next thing is tallies entry. So you basically would go into the tallies form, and you enter what container you received in your warehouse. You select that. You can enter the quantities that you actually received, and based on that quantity, that container would be saved, and you can then receive that into your container transaction. So once you click on import from tally, you would see that inventory, that the quantities would get loaded. Now, this is the sales order allocation. So when you're in an item and you click on it, it will show you what are the items, what are other sales orders have that item on it. You can select which one do you want to allocate inventory to, click on it, click it and apply allocate it, and so that inventory gets allocated to that. We will show that as allocated when you receive the product, like in Acumatica, if you went to the line detail and allocated specific inventory. So that's updated throughout all the Acumatica screen. Of course, as I mentioned, we fill a gap in the Acumatica from the point you approve it until you receive it. So once everything is done, you will click on enter PO receipt, and we will go ahead and create the PO receipt transaction for you. And based on the PO receipt transaction, you could save it. You could basically perform your other act. So this is a quick overview of the container tracking. I appreciate the opportunity to show you the enhancements. Please feel free to reach out to us if there is a need to discuss other information about the container in more detail. You can reach out to Jay or Raisa in our office to get that information. Thank you for the opportunity to show you our enhancements.